Good day, friends. Let's move on with the next topic, which will be on the Negotiable Instruments Act 1881. Sir, the Negotiable Instruments Act came into force on the first day of March 1882. Right? It came into effect on the first day of March 1882. It actually deals with promissory note, bill of exchange and check. Sir, the negotiable instrument actually deals with promissory note, bill of exchange and check. The purpose of this act was actually to legalize the system under which claims upon certain mercantile instruments are treated like ordinary goods passing from one hand to another. The act actually takes with three instruments: promissory note, bill of exchange and check. Now, what is a negotiable instrument? Section 13 of the Negotiable Instruments Act defines with the term negotiable instrument. A negotiable instrument means a promissory note, bill of exchange or check payable either to the order or to the bearer. So, it is payable either to the order or to the bearer. Now, order means the person to whom I am directing you to pay the instrument. Okay. To the bearer means the one who carries the instrument. Sir, for example, take up a 10 rupee note from your pocket or any note. Okay. Any currency, please take it up from your pocket. You will find the word, I promise the bearer to pay a sum of rupees 10. It will be signed by the Reserve Bank of India governor. So, which means the person, the bearer or the person who is carrying the instrument is being promised with a sum of rupees 10. Now, this is termed as a bearer instrument. However, order, I am saying pay to so and so. That is an order instrument. Okay. So, the term, negotiable instrument may be defined as a return promise. So, this is a return promise to the order to pay money which may be transferred from one hand to another as a substitute for money. Sir, instead of money, for example, I am giving you a check. Instead of money, okay, I am giving you something called as a check. Will it be treated on par with the cash? Yes, of course. You are going to go ahead, deposit the check in your bank account and the teller is either going to give you the cash across the counter or is going to credit it to your bank account. Anything may happen. But it is a substitute for money. Yes, agreed. Therefore, when I take up with the term negotiable instruments, the first thing is the instrument must be in writing. Sir, the instrument must be in writing. Sir, imagine a check, because when you take a promissory note or bill of exchange, it may be tough for you to imagine. So therefore, imagine a check. An instrument must be in writing. It must be signed by the maker. Now, when you take up the check, have you seen a signature on a check? Absolutely, yes. You would have seen a signature on a check. For your convenience, I will show you a check. Sir, this is a check. Now, when I show you a check, right, you are going to write the person to whom you're going to pay the amount or bearer. Now, this is a bearer instrument, right? You will be signing here. This is a place where you're going to sign. Therefore, a check is an instrument, a negotiable instrument is in writing and it is signed by the maker. It is signed by the maker. It must contain an unconditional promise. This is very, very important, friends. A negotiable instrument must contain an unconditional promise or order to pay some money. That is, the amount should be made payable. But there must not be a condition which is being imposed. Right? Suppose I promise to pay provided you leave so and so money in your bank account upon your death. Is the instrument valid? No. A negotiable instrument must contain certain amount. Money should be specified. Sir, go ahead and check with the banker if the number in words, the amount in words and in numbers, if it varies, the banker may dishonor also. So, on transfer of a negotiable instrument from one person to another, the transferee will actually receive it in good faith. Right? The amount written in words and in numbers must be correct, must be similar. Must be same. Okay? So, when you take up with the term negotiable instrument, it is an instrument in writing, signed by the maker, and must contain an unconditional promise or order to pay some money. It must contain a definite amount. Sir, what is negotiability? At this juncture, negotiability means the instrument should be transferable and the person who receives the instrument would receive it in good faith. Right? So, since 1881, the negotiable transactions in India have been governed by the Negotiable Instruments Act 1881. These instruments are most common credit devices and are freely used in commercial transaction as a replacement for money. Look at this. Negotiable instrument in simple term. It is a written promise to the order or it is a written promise or order to pay the money. And the written promise or the written order is transferable. Sir, transferability means negotiability. Okay. Now the instrument may be transferred by a mere delivery or by endorsement and delivery. So, coming up with section 13, I would have told you what the meaning of negotiable instrument under section 13. That is what is being given in your slide, which is now going ahead as well. Quickly read through section 13, negotiable instrument. Now, when you come up with negotiable instrument, okay, under section 14, when a promissory note or bill of exchange or a check is transferred to any other person so as to constitute that person, the holder thereof, the instrument is said to be negotiable. That is what I said. It must be transferred and the instrument is so obtained in good faith. Right? Now, presumptions about negotiable instruments. Unless the contrary is proved, the following presumptions shall be made. Consideration. Every negotiable instrument was made or drawn for consideration, and that every such instrument, when it has been accepted, endorsed, negotiated or transferred, was accepted, endorsed, negotiated or transferred for a consideration. Sir, we would have learned that in case of a contract, if there is no consideration, then the contract is said to be void. Sir, contract without consideration is void. Okay. Now, date. The negotiable instrument must have a date, time for acceptance. Every accepted bill of exchange was accepted within a reasonable time after its date and before its maturity. Time of transfer. Every transfer of a negotiable instrument was made before its maturity. The endorsements appearing upon a negotiable instrument were made in order in which they appear thereon. Stamping. That is, a lost promissory note, bill of exchange, or a check was duly stamped. So, stamping is something which is also very, very important, friends. A negotiable instrument, when it is being taken up, if stamping is required, then we will have to stamp it accordingly. Kinds of negotiable instrument. Now, section 4 of your Negotiable Instruments Act will speak upon the promissory note. Promissory note is actually a negotiable instrument in writing which contains an unconditional promise. Sir, this is the key word. When I am taking up with the promissory note, okay, a promissory note contains an unconditional promise, which means unconditional undertaking. Okay, now when we read bill of exchange, I will also give you a clue. The definition of bill of exchange will be the same, but the word will just vary. It is an unconditional order. So, promissory note is an unconditional undertaking. It is an instrument in writing which is containing an unconditional undertaking by one person to pay a certain sum of money to a specified person. So, I am paying a certain sum of money to a specified person. Then it would be termed as a promissory note. So, on analysis, please read through the comments, friends. It is an instrument in writing containing an unconditional undertaking to pay a certain sum of money only to the certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. Now, when I take up with the term promissory note, all the 5 elements are to be fulfilled to call up an instrument as a promissory note. Sir, in the matter of Beardsley versus Baldwin, please refer to the case which I have given you. This is a very interesting case. A written undertaking to pay a certain sum of money within so many days after the defendant's marriage was not recognized as a promissory note because there is a possibility that the defendant may never marry and the sum may never become payable. What if the defendant happens to be a morta single like you guys? I don't know whether you guys are morta single, but what if he is? This is what is my contention, right? So, there must be an unconditional undertaking. I should not put upon a condition. Sir, I promise to pay you a sum of rupees 500 upon Mr. A's death. I promise to pay you a sum of rupees 500 upon A's death. Now, will this be a valid promissory note? Yes, but I promise to pay you a sum of rupees 100 upon A's death, provided A leaves a sufficient money in his bank account. This will make the instrument as invalid because you are putting up a condition. Sir, death is inevitable. However, upon his death, you cannot say the person should leave sufficient money in his bank account, right? So, look at this illustration. Sir, these are some of one of beautiful illustrations when you take up with the term promissory note. Mr. A signs an instrument in the following term. I promise to pay B or order rupees 500, right? I acknowledge myself to be indebted to B rupees 1000 to be paid on demand for the value received. Mr. B owe you rupees 1000. I promise to pay B rupees 500 and all other sum which shall be due to him. Sir, all these things are not a valid promissory note. Look at this. Are they being very clear? Is there any unconditional undertaking? No. Look at this. The amount is not specific. Rupees 500 and all other sum which shall be due to him. What is it? I shall promise to pay B rupees 500, first deducting 3 out of any money which he may owe me. Which he may owe me? Is it being clear? I promise to pay B rupees 500 7 days after my marriage with C. Sir, what is the confidence or what is the guarantee that you will get married to C? What if you get married to D? So all these things, example A to F does not make the instrument, you know, I'm sorry, example C to H does not make the instrument good. A and B alone will make the instrument good. Okay, so I promise to pay B rupees 500 on D's death provided D leaves me enough sum to pay. Sir, if you would have stopped, I promise to pay B rupees 500 on D's death, then the promissory note would have been valid. Provided he leaves me enough sum to pay only makes the instrument invalid. I promise to pay B a sum of rupees 500 and deliver to him my black horse on 1st of January. All these things are an example wherein it doesn't make it out to be a promissory note. So, a promissory note is an unconditional undertaking, right? Now, in Robert versus Peake, an action was brought upon a promissory note made in the following. We promise to pay AB 116.11 pounds, 116 pounds and 11 cents for the value received on death of George Hinshaw, provided he leaves us sufficient money to pay. So this is where the note becomes invalid. If required, you may pause the video now and read the verdict which is being given by the court. Yes, friends, I hope it has been done. Now we would be moving on with the next one. Sir, what are the specifications? Interest rate should be specified in the instrument. If no such interest rate is specified, then the interest payable is 18%. Then, acceptance or acknowledgement of the debt cannot be considered as a promise or undertaking to pay the debt. Hence, it shall not take on par the character of a promissory note. When there is a conflict between the amount stated in words and numbers, this is something which is very, very important. The amount stated in words shall prevail. This is what I said. You must ensure that the words and numbers do not differ. If there is a difference, then the amount stated in words shall prevail. Now, when it comes to a promissory note, to the bearer of the instrument, it is actually inoperative by the enactment of Section 31 of the Reserve Bank of India Act. The promise is only for money. Bank notes or currency note is not a promissory note as it is a money itself. It is a negotiable instrument. Who are the parties in case of a promissory note? Maker, payee, holder, endorser and endorsee. Maker is the person who makes the promise or gives an undertaking to pay the amount. Payee is the person to whom the promise is made, and holder is the person who is either the payee or the endorsee. Sir, endorser is the person who is transferring the instrument and endorsee is the person to whom the instrument is transferred. Okay, then I go upon and I call someone whom I call upon as a transferor or transferee under Negotiable Instruments Act will be called as the endorser or endorsee. Right? Now, coming up with Section 5, Bill of Exchange. Now, when I come up with Bill of Exchange is also an instrument in writing. It is also signed by the maker and it is containing an unconditional order. So, this is something which is making a Bill of Exchange to be distinct. It contains an unconditional order signed by the maker directing a certain person to pay certain sum of money only or to the order of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. So, I would go ahead and I would pay. For example, A wrote and signed an instrument ordering B to pay rupees 500 to C. This is a bill of exchange. B has been ordered to pay rupees 500 to C. Yes or no? Yes. So, I am repeating. A is writing an instrument and he is ordering B to pay a sum of rupees 500 to C. This is actually called as a bill of exchange because B has been ordered to pay C a sum of rupees 500. So, a bill of exchange is an unconditional order. Who are the parties to a bill of exchange? Number 1, drawer, who is the maker of the bill of exchange. Number 2, drawee, the person who is being ordered to pay. So, in my example which I gave you, A wrote and signed an instrument ordering B to pay a sum of rupees 500 to C. Correct? A is the drawer of the instrument. Okay? And B is the drawee and C is the payee. You may pause this video now and recollect the example which I have given, or you may go ahead and play 2 minutes before and look forward what the example which I gave you. Right? So, when I take up a bill of exchange, right, the drawer and the payee may be the same person also. Pay to me. For example, Mr. Ponting draws a bill of exchange ordering Sachin to pay an amount to himself. In this illustration, Ponting is the drawer as well as the payee. Sachin is alone the drawee here. Clear, friends? Yes. Now, when I take up with a bill of exchange, right? A bill of exchange, the acceptance is given by the drawee in writing. I will have to give accepted. Okay. Now, I would like you to show a sample bill of exchange. How it looks. Look. Accepted, signed by Mrs. Q on so and so date. Now, this is a sample bill of exchange. Now, when you come up with a bill of exchange, it should be understood that, okay, bill of exchange is drawn by one branch of a firm to another branch. In such case, drawer and drawee may also be the same person. Sir, it is not only that drawer and payee can be the same person. In certain cases, drawer and drawee may also be the same person. Therefore, a bill of exchange, right, is being made for an unconditional by an unconditional order. So, I've shown you a specimen bill of exchange. It must be in writing, expressing an order to pay. Let me take you through. When you take up a bill of exchange, it may be made payable on demand or after a definite period. Of course, I told you the bearer instrument is not possible. How a maturity is being calculated? Sir, section 22 of your Negotiable Instrument Act says, maturity of a promissory note or bill of exchange is at the date at which it falls due. So, whenever the instrument falls due, fine, that is the date of maturity. Plus, you may go ahead and be given a grace period of 3 days. Okay, so when there is a grace period of 3 days, sir, for example, I'm going ahead and I'm saying that there is a promissory note which has been taken, it's been written, it's been executed, and I say the amount is payable on 12th of August. Sir, 12th of August, the instrument falls due. What is the grace date? 13th, 14th, 15th of August. 15th of August happens to be an Independence Day. Sir, it is a known holiday. If it is a known holiday, then the preceding day shall be the due date. Suppose on the grace day, on the third day of the grace period which has been given, if it is a sudden holiday, then the subsequent day will be considered as the period at which the date of maturity the instrument falls due. So, coming to section 25, when the day on which the promissory note or bill of exchange is at maturity is a public holiday, the instrument shall be deemed to be due on the next preceding business day. Sir, preceding means before day. After okay, the instrument is due on next preceding business day. The expression public holiday includes Sunday and any other day declared by the central government by notification in the official gazette to be a public holiday. Note, this is very, very important. That is what I said. In case of emergency or unforeseen public holiday, the immediate following business day, the next day will be taken into. Sir, that is why I said in case of Independence Day, it is a known holiday. It is officially declared. So, in that case, you have to take up the preceding date. In case of a strike or there is a sudden lockout, now there is a coronavirus, suddenly we say we are not going to work this day, next day will have to be taken. Sir, coronavirus case, corona is for a long period. We cannot go ahead and compute that. We don't know when things will resolve back also. But in this case, if there is a strike or a day band or something, the subsequent day, if there's an unforeseen public holiday, the subsequent day can be taken also. Okay. Illustration. And suppose a negotiable instrument dated 29th of January 1878 is made payable after 1 month. The instrument maturity is on 28th of February. Right. So from January 29th, okay, is made payable on the 28th of February. Is it correct? Sir, I am using the term. Here, I have seen in my previous batches, students read this in a hurry-burry. The instrument is at maturity not on 28th February, friends. Please look at the usage of my words. The instrument is at maturity on the third day after the 28th of February. So, which means 28th February, 1st of March, 2nd of March and 3rd of March. Ma'am, what if it is a leap year? Sir, calculate 1878 divided by 4. If it's a leap year, 29th of February will also be there. That is your headache. I have already told in classes, just because I am not good at maths, I have taken up law. So, therefore, I am not going to get into this panchayat. If it is a leap year, then 29th of February will also be calculated. The due date will be 2nd of March. Okay, a negotiable instrument dated 30th of August is made payable after 3 months. So, if it is 30th of August, September, October, November 30th will be the due date. December 1, 2, 3. So, 3rd December is the date of maturity. So, please don't confuse this to be the date of maturity, friends. 3rd day after 28th February. This is something which is very, very important. Students, while reading in a hurry-burry, tend to go ahead and understand 28th of February and they keep questioning me on this. Okay, so please understand, 3rd day after the 28th of February, the due will be the due date to which the instrument is payable. Right? Next one, check. Now, coming up with the next one, a check is a bill of exchange which is drawn on a specified banker and not expressed to be payable otherwise than on demand. So, the section uses the term otherwise than on demand. It is a bill of exchange and always payable on demand. So, who are the parties to a check? Drawer, drawee, and payee. So, when I take up with the term drawer, okay, the person who makes the check, in other words, who is the maker of a check, a person who draws, is termed as the drawer here, friends. Who is a drawee? The banker to whom it is being directed, he is termed as the drawee. Pay is the person to whom the check is being made out. For example, I pay you a check. I am the drawer, you are the payee. The drawee may be ICICI Bank, for example. Okay, so a check is a bill of exchange, which means all checks are bill of exchange, but all bill of exchange are not checks. Every offeree need not end up as an acceptor. Contract Act. So here I have a similar phrase which says all checks are bill of exchange, but all bill of exchange are not checks. Right? So a check is always drawn on a specified banker. Sir, if I am giving you a HDFC bank check, then it is drawn on the HDFC Bank. The drawee is the HDFC Bank, right? So we saw a specimen check. I'm also showing you a specimen check. Now this is a specimen check. Usually the validity for a check is 3 months from the date of issue. So this is a current account check. We have an account number. Here I would go upon and make my signature. Here I will write the payee name. The payee's name is written on the top. Sir, this is something wherein I have a two pair, crossing, parallel lines being drawn across. This is termed as account payee. This is termed as a crossing. Okay. Now, when I take up with the term crossing, I have two types of crossing. Number one is a general crossing and number two is a special crossing. Now, these are some of the specimens of general crossing. Just drawing two lines. Just drawing two lines and writing and co. Account payee, not negotiable. All these things are general crossing. Sir, what is the difference between a check which is not crossed and a check which is crossed? If a check is not crossed, then you can withdraw the money across the counter. However, if a check is crossed, then it shall not be withdrawn across the counter. It shall be payable only through by way of crediting it to the bank account. Now I have something called as special crossing. Look at the special crossing, friends. Sir, for example, State Bank of India account payee, which means where I am making a check to you. Sir, my check is Bank of Baroda. Okay, the check which I showed you is Bank of Baroda. I have mentioned State Bank of India, which means the payee's account in State Bank of India will only be credited with the amount. So this is a instance where if a special crossing is being made, then the person who is crossing the check or the drawer is able to identify to which bank account that the person payee has taken the money. If there are multiple transactions, this allows me to keep a track of the transactions which is being made as well. So a check is something which I would go upon and I would say that it is an instrument in writing. It's a bill of exchange. It is an instrument in writing signed by the maker. Okay. Now, the check does not require any acceptance. Non-acceptance shall lead to the dishonor of a check, and a check does not require stamping. This is something which is distinct from a bill of exchange. A bill of exchange requires a stamping. However, in case of a check, it doesn't require a stamping. Check payments are always treated in par with cash. This is very, very important, friends. Checks are always treated on par with cash. The payment is deemed to be made from the date of issue was decided in the matter of Saraswati versus Somasundaram Chettiar. அது சமசுந்தரம்னு காலப்போக்கில் மறிவிடுத்து it is Somasundaram Chettiar. Right? So we have also seen what a general crossing and special crossing is all about. I'm giving you some time. Go ahead. You may pause the video now and please read what are the types of crossing as well.